This test has been so incredibly valuable because we can identify the things that are not working for this individual animal and then take them out of the diet or out of the environment and then give them a clean place where they can start to heal. Hey, I'm Dr. Ruth Roberts, the original holistic pet health coach, and I am super excited because today Chanel Duvall is with me. For those of you that do not know her, she is working with Glacier Peaks Company, one of my favorite companies of all time. We use their test quite a bit to help figure out food sensitivities and their supplements as well to help support pets holistically. But for those of you that do not know Chanel, she grew up in small towns in Montana, surrounded by a variety of family pets. And at an early age, she developed a profound love and respect for nature and animals. She earned an Associate of Applied Science degree in business management, followed by a double bachelor's in kinesiology and fitness and sports management, and then embarked on a career dedicated to promoting health and wellness through physical fitness, and eventually founding her own successful business as an NSCA certified strength and conditioning specialist. So how did she pivot into pets? Chanel is the daughter of Deb Gwynn, the founder and owner of Glacier Peak Holistics. And when a position opened up at Glacier Peak, Chanel decided to transition into the field of animal and pet wellness. And she now serves as the product specialist and scan technician at Glacier Peak Holistics, where she's able to pursue her passion for helping animals achieve optimal health and well-being. So welcome. Glad to see you on board.
Thank you.
And that's an amazing pivot from health and wellness on the human side to the pet side. How was that transition for you?
Oh, it's actually pretty easy. In the beginning after college, I actually started working with horses and learned how to do a lot of different stuff with that. So it was horses to people to now dogs, cats, all that stuff. So it's been pretty enjoyable. It's nice to be able to help a lot of different animals and people.
That's great. And Bettina, good to see you. She has been a longtime follower, and so awesome to see you. So the main thing we're talking about today is the test. And I think there's a lot of confusion about what it is, what it doesn't do. So what the test does is look for intolerances and or sensitivities to particular foods, environmental issues. Can you talk a little bit about what the difference is between that and a true allergy?
So a true allergy is going to be something that your veterinarian is going to take a blood sample for, and they're going to look for actual histamine triggers. And so what we do is we're just looking at the energetic side of it to see what the pet is sensitive to right now. They may actually have some histamine triggers and some immune triggers to it, but it could be something that is overcome. With a true allergy, you're not going to overcome it. It's going to be with them for their entire life. And the allergy part is actually more rare in pets. They're not going to have as many, and they're not going to be as prevalent as they are in humans. But the sensitivities, if the animal is given too much of something for too long without a rotation in their proteins or anything like that, that's when they're going to start getting sensitive to it. And it's going to cause their immune system to start throwing up reactions. So what we try to do is give people the information that they need to be able to say, okay, right now they're really sensitive to, say, beef. And I've been giving them beef for the last year. So now I need to go and switch it up, and let's switch the protein and move stuff around. And then all of a sudden, within a couple months, their symptoms start to decrease. So generally our symptoms that we're dealing with are itchy, hot spots, licking, biting paws, that kind of issues. So we're trying to help relieve a lot of the different concerns that people have with their pets and what's going on with them.
Right on. And I think that's a really important distinction, because when we're talking about intolerances and sensitivities, often it's relating back to the fact that the gut isn't working well and it's not sealed, if you will, and is truly leaky. So this is part of why this test has been so incredibly valuable, because we can identify the things that are not working for this individual animal and then take them out of the diet or out of the environment and then give them
Yeah.
a clean place where they can start to heal. So, and
Correct.
you've changed your, yeah, right on. You've changed the format of the test. So I've got a kind of a copy of the older one, but what do all these asterisks mean? So that gets a little confusing for folks sometimes. So we've
Okay,
got,
so on the new
yeah,
one, when a specific item is highlighted in either yellow or red, then the asterisk will pop up to include all of the milks or oils or any other types of that protein. So a question we've been getting a lot lately is, my dog tested sensitive to beef. Can they have organ meat? Can they have the bones? And it's no, it's all of it. So when we say beef, when we say rice, it's all rice. We need to cut everything out, let that system reset, relax for 60 days, and then you can slowly try to integrate it back in. But for now, it's the asterisks are going to include, generally there's some that will say like like with the petrochemicals, it will say actually this is generally where it's found, give you a better idea for that. But excuse me. But generally it's going to mean that it includes everything. Like with peanuts, it's going to include the actual peanuts, it's going to include in peanut butter, anything that is going to include that type of product, basically.
thank you for that, because that's one of the things, like, everybody believes coconut oil is, the best thing ever invented, and it is an amazing thing, but there are a number of sensitivities developing to it
Yes.
because it is so
Yes.
commonly used everywhere. Right on.
Yes. And
And
that is one that we definitely have the asterisks on, and we get a lot of questions on, because it's coconut, it's the coconut flakes, it's the fruit, it's the milk, and it's the oil. So it's including everything. And it's important to make sure that people are actually restricting the entire product and not just one section of it.
right on, because if your goal is to pull it out so the immune system will stop reacting to it, if you haven't done it completely, then you're banging your head against the wall on that one.
Yeah.
Right on.
Yeah.
And I think Audrey's asking one of our coaches, if animals have a true allergy, will it show up as a red sensitivity?
For ours, we're not checking for true sensitivities. That's going to be through your veterinarian and through a blood analysis. They're going to check for the IgGs or IgMs. I'm not exactly sure. But for ours, it's just sensitivities, and that's what we're looking for.
Right on. And that's so an allergy may not show up, but I've seen some of these actually show up as sensitivities, and then when we try to reintroduce it, the pet's, this is still not
Yeah.
working. Yeah.
Yeah. And that may be the case on some items. They just may never be able to have it. And it
Right
may
on.
be it's an allergy, but we can't know that for sure on our
Right
side.
on. And that's another really important point. We use this test as a roadmap, and it is not, and none of them, frankly, not the NutriScan tests, not the blood tests, none of them are 100% accurate. So there can be both, in laboratory testing, we would say false positives and false negatives, meaning there can be something highlighted in red that your pet may not react to. And likewise, there can be something that is not highlighted that your pet may react to. So I think that's really important to bear in mind too. Your dog is going to always tell you the truth about how things are going with that particular
Yes.
food.
Yes, go
So
and really listen to your pet, because they're going to give you the feedback. And it may be the point where, we've had this question recently as well, where people are like, I know that when I give them, say, milk, that something's happening, but it didn't show up on the test. It could be that's rising and it's not meeting our parameters yet to market, but it could be that sensitivity is developing. And if you're seeing something like that, definitely listen to your pet, because they're going to tell you the truth.
Amen. Amen. Yeah, so it's great. And Rachel, you just got your samples delivered to you, or your test kits, or the samples were delivered to the lab this week. So that'll be interesting to see how those results come out, which is cool. Yeah, and Chris, you're right. We're all slaves to kind of tradition. So the format was a bit of an adjustment. Actually, after looking at it, I like it a little bit better. But yeah, okay.
It
We got
does.
to
It
change.
takes some practice.
Yeah,
It was difficult for us as well, especially as a technician going through, like I knew exactly where everything was on that list before and having to go back and try to find everything. It definitely has taken some time, but now it's settled in and I like that it's broken up a little bit easier. And when people can print it, they can see it a little bit easier than the other one where everything was very jumbled together. This kind of spaces things out a little bit more.
right on, right on. One of the sections that gets really confusing is the energetic imbalances. And let me see if I can find at least the older version of that. So, can you talk a little bit about what that is, what that means, and how a pet parent or one of our coaches could use that? So,
So
this is the
that
old
is
version again.
correct. Yeah, that's the old one. But it's essentially the same. So what we're doing, we don't have it in the diagram anymore, but we just have it so it's highlighted. And what this area is letting is that this is a spot where that pet is right now throwing out some imbalances. So when we specifically look at that section, it's giving us our parameters for this is an issue right now. And we're not saying that this is something that is diagnostically, your vet needs to put your dog on thyroid medicine. We're saying that thyroid is stressed at this moment. It could be just something from that day. But at this point in time, when we did the scan, there's actually something going on. So if you're seeing actual symptoms of something, like if you're seeing yeast symptoms where they've got hot spots, their feet smell, they're getting ear infections, then it's probably a little bit more than just a daily thing. It's probably, yeah, there's probably some yeast issues going on there. So this helps us know if there's chlorine, if you're in an area where there's chlorine in the water, and that dog is picking up too much chlorine and now they're starting to have reactions to it and becoming sensitive to it. Now you can look and say, okay, you know what? I should be giving my dog filtered water for a while and help them clear their system out. So basically, this is just our diagnostic tool to see where the animal could use some supplementation, whether that is to try to help get rid of yeast, whether that is to try to get rid of some parasites. And on the area, when we look at the parasites, we're not saying, you know what, there's issues going on specifically, but we're saying, you know what, they came up something in the gut that was throwing out some parasite issues. So maybe they do need some garlic or some diatomaceous earth to just supplement their gut. It's really just more of a supplementation tool than it is. We want people to take their animals to the vet if they think there's symptoms and there's issues. But this is giving them more of a guideline of, hey, you know what? Maybe they could benefit from some inflammation if they've got some inflammation going on, and I've noticed them limping a little bit. It's just diagnostic.
Right on. And it's been interesting too. And when I was doing consultations and I would ask pet parents about stuff, especially the emotional component, they're like, oh, yeah. And then this whole other story would come out. So it
Yes.
is really super useful to just question through and see, hey, what else is going on with this guy? So that's
Right.
cool. And actually, Wendy's asking a great question. Can sensitivities change over time?
Absolutely. We always tell people give it 60 days to take an item out. And once it's gone and you feel like they're feeling better and their symptoms have decreased, you can start to add it in slowly, one at a time, not overwhelming the system with add everything back in. You could try a treat with it and see if you start to have some reactions. But sensitivities absolutely are going to change over time. That's why we recommend if your dog is still seeing some symptoms or having some issues after 6 months or a year, it's okay to do the test again and see where they're at and see if the changes have been made that have decreased other sensitivities, but something else might be starting to pop up again. So it's a good idea that if you're seeing stuff, it's okay to go ahead and test again and test and see what's happening. But yeah, they're absolutely going to change.
Right on. And this is the other thing too, is that we use this kind of as a foundation to start to heal the gut. And if we see, oh my
Right.
gosh, 6 months later, all of the things we pulled out, my dog's no longer sensitive to, but now that he's been eating these other things for 6 months, he's sensitive to all of these. What that's
Yeah.
telling us is that the gut is still not healed. There's probably
Right.
still some leaky gut going on. And that's where
Mhm.
we might use another test from innovative pet labs to look at specific parameters around gut inflammation, leaky gut, if the immune system is functioning better. And that may give us some
Yeah.
additional clues as well. So,
Right.
yeah, really critical. And I think we have a lot of folks that'll be like, I had this Glacier Peaks test from 2 years ago. And honestly, that's just, it's
That's too long.
interesting historical information, but
Yeah.
really need to retest to make sure that we're getting accurate up
Yeah.
up
And
to
on
date
that,
information.
correct.
Yeah.
And on that note, just to let people know as well, we do not keep records over 6 months because of that reason. So it's going to change over time, and we don't want to give out information that may not be correct for that time. So we only hold this old prior scan results for 6 months, and then we don't have them anymore.
Right on. So I think we addressed part of this just to drill into it a little bit further. If an item is not showing up as reactive, but the pet seems to be showing signs of intolerance, why might that be?
Like I had said earlier, I think it could be that it's starting to, and it's just not on our parameters yet as far as how bad it is. It could be that on the day that we do the test, it's just not, they didn't have it that day and it's not showing an issue. Really, our test is a snapshot in time. It is one little area of time and what was going on at that moment. That's why we don't recommend doing a test earlier than 6 months as well, because things can be changing consistently day in and day out. So we go off of one time and that's it. But those sensitivities, like I said, they could be definitely building. They could be something that it's just not showing as it's a sensitivity on our side, but read your pet. They're going to tell you the truth. If they can't have it, they're going to say, nope, I cannot have this. These are the symptoms I'm going to have from it: vomiting, diarrhea, hot spots, itchy, you name it. But listen to your pet because they know what's going on.
Right on. They're going to show you. One of oh yeah, you mean we don't just treat the piece of paper? And that's the difficulty, right? Because so many, that's where veterinary medicine has gone. We're treating the piece of paper instead of looking at that dog or cat in front of us. And
And
right.
they
And
can't
so
talk to us and tell us. So they're giving us information. You just have to know how to read it.
amen to that. So the cool thing about this test is that it is really easy to do for a pet parent because it's a saliva sample, hair sample. Sometimes folks will get a little freaked out because you're putting both in the same bag. So is there a problem in terms of cross contamination, and why use the two different samples?
So we want to have the best snapshot of that pet. And so in order for the machine to find them, we want to have the best energy from them. So that's why we ask for the fur, because that's going to have more of the historical reference, and the saliva is going to be the current. But we're not taking a DNA sample. We're not going through and testing the actual saliva. We're working off of energy, which is completely different, and it's way above my head. The quantum physics is just extremely difficult to wrap my mind around. So I'm not even going to try to explain it, but we're working off of energy. So it doesn't matter if they're in the same bag. It's actually better because it's putting that animal into one spot. And then we can focus the machine on that one spot for that one animal. So there's no need to be freaked out about it. It's perfect exactly the way it is.
That's real key. This is just not something you can mess up, which is amazing.
Yeah. Well, we
Definitely
don't
not
want,
this.
we do,
Mhm.
yeah, we do
Please.
have people ask if they can just take hair that has fallen off and is on the carpet or on their clothes. No, it does need to come directly from the animal. We don't want any contamination from other energies that may be on your clothing, or we don't want shedding fur that's off of that. So definitely we want a fresh piece, whether it's cut off in a little chunk or you comb it out with a clean comb. Don't use a brush that's been messed up with other people or with other animals' fur on it. I like to brush my cats and dogs with all the same brush, so I couldn't use that.
Exactly. You
But
have no idea who you're actually looking at.
exactly. So we like to have it be fresh, make sure that it's right off of the animal, and that gives us our best sample.
Right on. Now, we think about this being primarily for dogs, but is this something we could use for cats as well?
Absolutely. And cats are so tricky because they're not going to give the same symptoms as dogs. So, this is actually a wonderful way to get a little bit more knowledge about your cats. Mine is sleeping at my feet right now. I can't go in a room without them being here. But it's going to let you know why they're vomiting, why they have loose stools, why they can't go to the bathroom. Once I got my cats done, they both are on daily defense now, and stools have gotten perfect. I'm not getting that excess running to the restroom all the time. My female cat was very overweight when I got her, and she is slimmed down. She looks perfect now. Their fur is perfect now. So it gives you an idea of why they're acting the way that they're acting, because cats are so tricky and they are not going to give you the same signals as dogs.
That is for sure. And they're so good at hiding issues until they just cannot anymore. So,
Exactly. And then it explodes.
yeah, and then it's really bad. This is
Yeah,
one of the tools we can use for cat parents that are like, she's just not right, but I can't put my finger on it. This can be really
exactly.
helpful. Yeah.
Exactly. And cats are having a lot of issues with leaky gut as well. And people are like, I give my cat milk or I do this or that. And then it comes back, oh my gosh, the milk is causing all sorts of problems. So it really gives you some good feedback of feeding your cat the best nutrition as well.
Right on. Now, what about puppies and kittens? Because unfortunately, we're seeing puppies that just have diarrhea from day one and go on and on.
Right. So, what we usually recommend is wait until 6 months, and that's because we're using energy. So, when a puppy is born, they're actually bringing in energy from their mother and from the litter, from being with them for the first few months of life. So, once they get separated out for a while, they've been on their own, they're in their new environment, and they're getting fed different foods. That's when we can get a clearer image of their energies. We can, when we have had some that they're like at 4 months, they're going, we've got to do something. There's something definitely wrong with this puppy. They're sick. They're really sick. And we do say, okay, we will test it, but we put that asterisk up there of this may not be fully what is going on with the puppy. It'll throw out all the information about the puppy, but there may be some excess that might be from mom, because they're just not going to get rid of all of mom's energy and the litter mate's energy right off the bat. So it is they are able to do it. It's just maybe not as accurate as if they wait until 6 months to do it.
Right on. And I get it. I mean, their immune system hasn't fully developed at that point, and they are little
Yeah.
energetic sponges. Cool.
Yes,
Now,
they are. Mine just had a
now,
1 year birthday.
yeah. Oh, congratulations. And what
Yes,
kind of pup?
their birthday was last week. I have two Rhodesian Ridgebacks, so I have
Now
100
that's a
pound
lot of
babies.
dog. Cool. Now, what if a dog or a cat is on some sort of medication? Will that impact the test
It
results?
it won't. What we do say is with antibiotics, we try to wait until that antibiotic course is finished before you take a sample. Generally, it's 10 days or so. Wait until afterwards to do it. But it's not going to mess it up if they've gotten an Apoquel shot or if they're on something else because we're working off of energies, and it's just going to come up with the sensitivities that are happening.
Right on. And that's it. There's sometimes that these pets are going to be on these medications long term, but this is the step number one to working towards getting them off of the meds. And then likewise, when you're gathering samples, you talked about combing the hair out or trimming hair from the body, but in terms of the swabs, should somebody wait until before or after the pet eats to gather samples?
We do say if you can do it before a meal, then that would be best. If they've eaten, wait a couple hours just so that they don't have their meal's saliva directly in the mouth at that time. Let them have some water and flush some stuff out. But generally, it's not going to make a huge difference. But we do say if you can do it before their meal or a couple hours afterwards, that's going to give us the best sample.
Right on. That makes total sense. Now, one of the other things that you cover in this test, which I think is very helpful, are environmental things, plants, grasses, trees, and then chemicals and all of that stuff. This
Right.
is not an allergy test, but again, it may be indicating there's sensitivity to these things. And then, so what
Correct.
should the pet parent do with regard to these types of sensitivities?
So what we've been seeing a lot lately is motor oil. And I'm not sure if it's just the time of year and stuff getting on the road and it's not getting flushed out because of rain or drought stuff or whatever. But I'm seeing a lot of oil. I'm guessing it's from walks and being on the concrete and stuff. So when we see those type of things, we've got a lot for paint, plastics. It's try your best to keep them out of that environment or exposed to that product. A lot of times people will go through and be like, oh my gosh, I had no idea this chemical was in XYZ. And so they'll go through and start looking to see if their floor cleaner might have what they're popping up sensitive to. And they might not know that their pet is having an issue with something that they're using. So it gives them that feedback to say, hey, you know what? I'm actually not helping my dog right now or my cat. And the other one that's really big is the chlorine. And it's just in their water, it's in the pools, especially summertime. We're having lots of issues with that. And that can cause a lot of skin issues and irritation. So it's helping the pet clear that out of their system. If you know that's a problem, now you can start removing it. The plastics, a lot of toys, make sure that they're not chewing on toys that have plastics in them. Sometimes we have K-pop come up, which is the stuffing inside toys, the soft stuffing. So if your dog is one that likes to destroy and tear them up and eat them, that could be a part of the problem. So we may need to just change the toys out. But it just gives people a better idea of what is causing issues. So if there's a couple different petrochemicals or chemicals that show up, you can try your best to restrict their exposure. Outdoor ones, you're just going to have to do your best. If something's in season, it could be that they just have a more allergy prone sense to maple or oak or something like that. And during those seasonal times, you want to support their immune system as much as possible. So this is going to give you that information to be able to supplement and help their immune system and boost it.
Right on. And the thing that's so interesting to me is that once we started working at the level of supporting the gut and healing the gut, what I found in clinical practice was that the skin allergies or environmental allergens were the issues were much,
Right.
much reduced because the
Right.
immune system was functioning better all of a sudden. So
Right.
it's all good stuff. Um, and then I think what you're saying too is you look at this list of chemicals and it's what even is this stuff? So I think it's been
Yeah.
very helpful for a lot of pet parents to start to research what this stuff is and then look at what's in their cabinets and their cupboards because
Yeah.
I've been buying Mr. Clean for 20 years. I guarantee you the Mr. Clean formula has changed pretty
Exactly.
dramatically over the
Yeah.
20
And
years as yeah.
And some of them is the adhesive side of tape and stuff like that. Those have been some that have been interesting to me because the cats like to get into the boxes and start chewing that stuff. It's any of the adhesives or the backside of the tape or the glues. And those are coming up as a lot of issues lately too. So it's just giving you the knowledge of start looking around, see what they're getting into, and then see if maybe something on it is on that list.
Right on. And I think that's the difficulty, and that's part of why this test is so useful, is that our level of exposure to all sorts of stuff is horrifying. But what's
Yeah.
more horrifying is that our pets are exposed at 5 times or more than we are
Hmm.
because of where they live. We had one of our
Yep.
coaches, her dog's liver enzymes just went astronomically high. And the thing that we could suss out was that this is during winter when everybody's using the de-icing salts. Lo and behold, those are derived from fracking brine. So the stuff that pushes the oil out of the earth, and because that's
Yeah.
going down so far, it's actually picking up radium. Yes. Oh,
My gosh.
awesome. Yeah, so it was like, okay, great, something else to worry about. But what happened was when she became aware of that, she's just started washing her dog's feet really well and using booties when she could. But I think
Yeah.
that's just so critical is to like really think about everything that your dog's being exposed to. The other
Right.
really sad thing is that the fracking brine is used to make salt for saltwater pools and spas. So that's probably not so great too. And it's, oh my God,
Yeah.
it's just,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
gonna,
So they're just
yeah,
getting it everywhere.
exactly. So Sharon's asking about St. Augustine grass. So if the test comes back positive for grass in general, would this be an issue as
It's
well?
not specific on there. Actually, St. Augustine is on our list to add. We're working on updating as we see things come up, and especially people who are in different environments than what we normally see. Those types of grasses, St. Augustine, and I think Zoeosa, I can never say that one right. Those are,
Zoe,
yeah, those ones that are on our list to add. As we start to see people ask questions for it, we start a list. And then as they become more popular, then we work on trying to add them all to all of our machines. So
right
that
on.
is actually one on the list to add.
Cool. Because unfortunately in the Southeast, that's become extremely popular because that's what all the
Yeah.
landscapers, oh, this looks nice and we can just plant it. So
Yep.
for those of you watching, I put a code in. Hopefully this is shown up on Facebook as well. It gave me an error message. But if you have not done, I'll just repost it for fun. If you've not done a pet intolerance test, here is a code where you can go get 10% off. The test itself is very inexpensive at 129 bucks. You get a boatload of information. I think it's just super, super valuable if your dog or cat has got any health issues. Now, for those folks that don't live in the US, I know that you have a way for them to be able to send results in. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, so we definitely work with Canada. We actually have a few suppliers up there where you can purchase up there, or you can purchase off of our website and do it. We get some from Canada or France, England, and Singapore is our most common countries. We also have Australia. We have a veterinarian that we work with down there. And I think one of your coaches is actually in Australia and is going to start using too. So that's
Awesome.
exciting.
That's right,
And
Jen. Yeah.
also, yeah, so you can send your samples in, and I'm in charge of international. So they come directly to me, and then I will get them processed. What we ask is put on your description when you send it in, just say hair and saliva dog. Make sure that you put dog or cat because right now the customs are really watching for poultry and any livestock because of the H5N5 viruses and stuff. So they're really watching out for that. So just put exempt dog and then make sure you put a good description on there. And
Cool.
then we haven't had generally any problems. Sometimes they'll hold it and they'll look at it and they'll want more information. We do have a little sheet in there so that you can sign off and say, this is my vet. They have been vaccinated. And then that also helps push it through customs. So customs knows they've been vaccinated, they're healthy, they're not somebody's that's been exposed to coyotes or foxes or something like that. We do lots of international stuff.
Cool. And actually, Ellie is asking if you have worked with folks down in Colombia or anywhere in Latin America.
I do not think, I think in the past we had some come from Brazil, but I'm not positive that we actually do that anymore. It's mainly if customs will allow it from that country. So that's where we run into problems. With Europe and the EU, it becomes a problem with paying for the customs to come in and the duty fees, and then paying for them to come back out again. So that it just becomes financially a burden. But South American countries, I'm not sure what the policy is with customs, but I think they're a little bit more strict right now.
Right on. And we do have a coach that has just completed her certification in El Salvador. And I know we've been working to try and get some products down there with her so she can make this a little easier. So at least Ellie, if we can work this out, then we'll at least be outside of the US and have one hurdle down. It's wow. So one of the other things too, so if any, and I think there's a lot of folks on here that are either in the coaching program or are already certified holistic pet health coaches. But if you are struggling with a chronic health issue, you need a way to, okay, I have these test results. What do I do now? That's what the holistic pet health coaches are here for. I've trained them to learn how to interpret these tests, how to develop rotation and elimination diets, and develop diets that you can make at home to help alleviate some of these issues and really work through it. So that's part of what we do, is use this information and then help you be able to apply it to really amplify your pet's best health. So if you guys
And
have
we actually
questions, yeah.
we send people to your coaches as well, because we don't want to give out false information, because we work with the supplemental side and we don't work with the food side. So we like to work hand in hand with your coaches and be able to send people to them so that we know they're getting the best information possible.
Right on. And that's the thing, is that when companies collaborate together, then the pets do better. Because your Infilpotion, your Herbaprin, several of the other supplements, they're just top quality. Deb's really, her life work has been just remarkable in what she's been able to do. And it's wonderful that you're able to keep carrying on with that too.
Yeah.
So yeah. So guys, if you've got questions, drop them in. I've got a couple of other ones I'll ask Chanel, and then if we've got nothing else from y'all, we'll jump off. But in terms of all of the remedies that you have a tremendous portfolio of supplements available. And what do you feel are some of the sort of the top-notch things that people should consider if they're
Yeah.
dealing with, specific health
And
issues?
And that actually brings up a different question that I wanted to answer. A lot of people say at the end of our results, all of the products were marked with a check mark. But I don't want to get all of the products for my pet. And what we need to clarify this on our new test, it's not as clear, but those are the products that we're saying are okay to give your pet. We've tested for the ingredients that are in them, and they've come up okay to test. So if it's something that your dog does have some pain or inflammation, then Herbaprin and Infilpotion would be a good choice. But if they've got one of the ingredients that have come up, it'll actually come up with a red X through the test result, or through the product. So that way that product is not the best for them. And then
Right.
at the end of it, they also can go, when they get their results, there's a link to fill out a custom product pick, and they can go through and fill out information of what's going on with their pet. And then I actually go through, I look at the food that they're giving, the symptoms that they have, and I go through their test results. And then I give them the option of a few different products that are more in tune with what I'm seeing, the symptoms that they've given, and the results that they've had. But my biggest one that I just love, I've got all of my animals are on it. My cats, my dogs, everybody, is Daily Defense, because it's giving that extra boost of nutrition that all the pets need. It doesn't matter what you're feeding. you may have a little slip up of B vitamins, D vitamins, omegas, E's, whatever it is. And this just gives you that little bit of a buffer so that you're getting everything that they possibly need. And you're also getting some diatomaceous earth and some garlic. So you're getting a little bit of detox with it. A lot of animals that have had some diarrhea issues, vomiting issues, just adding daily defense has really helped. It just gives them that little bit of detox that they need, but it also is going to boost their immune system. It gives some good bee pollen so they get some energy. It's my definite overall top of the line pick. I've got everybody on it.
So good for what ails you, so to speak. Yeah, right on. And Luz, each coach charges differently. And so often they do package prices. And so that's where you may be able to, there would be some sort of consideration, so to speak. And so what I would suggest doing is go to our website, go to the page called Find a Coach, and I'll drop a link here in just a second, and see for the allergy test. No, I think it's a one price fits all, because there's a cost for each test and kind of each, but with this 10% discount code, that will save you a boatload of money on 4 tests. But with the coaches, you just head over and check them out, see who appeals to you in terms of working with them. And often there are package prices available. And you can certainly talk to our customer support. They'll be able to pre-ask that question for you. And then Rachel's asking, would the time of the year the test is done impact the results? So if summer's when the dog's more itchy, would more red show up then than if she did it in the winter?
It could for environmentals, because that's when you're going to start having the pollens out in the air from the different grasses or trees. And so that could be that you're seeing more of an environmental sensitivity pop up. And so if you're having issues where they're more red or itchy in the summertime, that's definitely where you want to test them, or when you want to test them, because that's going to give you the answers. If they're not as bad in the winter, then it wouldn't make sense to test them in the winter, because you're not going to have any of those sensitivities pop up like they would if they're getting overexposed to the pollens in the air.
Right on. And that makes sense. The more burden, the more reactive the system is, and
right,
energetic.
And more of a load on the immune system. The immune system's taken a bigger hit when they're getting bombarded with so many different pollens and things in the air.
Amen. Amen. Cool. Chanel, thank you so much for your time today.
You are welcome.
Would love to have you back, and we'll talk a little bit more about some other solutions that you all offer in the future. And for all of you that came, thank you so much for showing up. Glad this was useful information to you. Use that 10% discount code to start getting some answers for your pet's health. The other thing too is, if you are ready to start talking to a coach, there is a 10% discount code I'm going to drop in for you in just a moment, where you book a consult with the coach and then add in that code. It'll take 10% right off the bill. And Luz, yes, this will replay. It'll be living on Facebook and YouTube, so be watching for that. So again, Chanel, thank you so much for joining today, and look forward to speaking in the future.
Thank you so much for having me and explaining all of this stuff for you guys.
That's awesome. Cool. All righty.